Welcome to the Guelph Community Foundation's very first ever Knowledge Builder Series presentation. This is the first in four. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the rules that govern Canadian not-for-profits, who we are, Community Foundations of Canada, resources, and we'll at least touch on briefly the Guelph Community Foundation's bylaws. So today you can think of this as the blue box as foundation fundamentals. Next week will be foundation financials, and Caesar will be taking charge on that one. Foundation funds will follow, and Beth Ann will lead that one. And then the last presentation will be on foundation impact. For today, we're going to hit on, at least briefly, foundations, community foundations, and what's the reason that we're here. Specifically, GCF's mission and vision. We'll go a little bit over our history and some of the governance. What does the foundation look like? What are some of the rules that we follow? People often ask for the elevator pitch. They want to understand what the foundation does. And as volunteers and directors for the Guelph Community Foundation, people will ask you frequently. And here is a great elevator pitch to respond. The Guelph Community Foundation helps individuals and families or businesses invest in making our community a better place to live. Really, if anybody said, how do you do that? The answer, or a quick and easy answer is, well, the Guelph Community Foundation contributes time, leadership, and financial support to local initiatives, helping people give back where it's needed most. This is an appropriate time to say, when we talk about contributing time and leadership, well, here you are doing exactly that, and financial support to local initiatives, that would be far and wide. Our hope is that all volunteers contribute as they can, and ultimately we need our directors to support us because we do get asked from time to time, what percentage of your board supports the foundation? The best answer we can give is a smile with 100%. So the Guelph Community Foundation is one of 191 community foundations across Canada. It was only about 1 to 2 years ago that Community Foundations of Canada actually shared on my request where we were ranked by size of assets. And I think they probably don't share that regularly because, well, if you're not in the top percentage, if you're not in the top 10, 20, 30, 40, at some point, it must feel a little bit odd to hear that you're tiny or small or not able to compete or grow. And so much of that happens with, well, urban centers and community engagement. But the Guelph Community Foundation sits somewhere in the top 25% of foundations, which by memory, we usually hover somewhere around 35 to 40 in the top largest foundations to smallest. One of the important things to always remember is that we don't deliver programs. And that's captured nicely with the statement. We don't compete with local charities, we help strengthen their work. And really what that's code for is we grant to them, we support them financially. They're the experts. If they're doing good work, they're the ones that we need to be able to grant to so that they can continue to make our community better. We often point out a broad range of options to give. And that really comes from the idea that, and I often say it with a big smile like I'm joking, but it's accurate and I'm serious. If it's legal and if CRA allows for it, the Guelph Community Foundation can do it. And so the obvious would be cash, e-transfer, in terms of dollars today. our one of the best strategies that the foundation can offer support is in estate planning. But the fact is, gifts of wine, gifts of art, and real property. Those are all valid gifts and things that we can work with. I'm not going to tell you that we do that with huge frequency, but no, if CRA allows for it and if it's legal, we can do it. We always point out not only that we not only have a broad range of giving options, but that it is a gift that can be done now and or in the future. And again, think estate plans, and there are different types of funds that we offer. Vision is to make our community better. Our mission is to enhance quality of life. These are things that you can read. We include them on our website. If you ever needed them in a moment's notice and didn't have access to a Guelph Community Foundation staff member, right on the guelphcf.ca website, one of the first tabs menu items is About Us, and you would find our mission, our vision, and our values, and the values being collaboration, accountability, and responsiveness. I would like to think that all of you on this call see that regularly, that you know it's true. One of the things that we often say internally is when we have options and choices, take the high road. Always take the high road. Next slide. So the Guelph Community Foundation does what we do through good governance. We have directors here, structure and framework, and I would mention our policy manual, our bylaws. We have intake for grant applications and scholarships. We have generally request for impact reports afterwards so that we know that organizations have done what they've expected to do, what they were expected to do. We provide the administrative back office, and we can do that ourselves as a charity, but we can also do that for other charities so that we can have charitable endowment funds. And so you would find, for example, the Guelph Public Library has an endowment fund. Action Read has a local charity in Guelph, has a fund at the Guelph Community Foundation. And if you ever go through our fund list and you look really carefully, may surprise you to see that the United Way has a fund at the Guelph Community Foundation. That is specifically because when it comes to estate planning, they need to be able to offer something to close that gap to their largest supporters, and we are the mechanism that they can do that. Know that the foundation grants as a conservative minimum 3.5%. We can generally do that even in bad years, and that's because as a foundation, we manage for stabilization, and stabilization is really code for reserve. We always hold a little bit back, enough to get us through 3 bad years, which is generally historically what market crashes have lasted. And then I would add, the Guelph Community Foundation provides information. So we have our vital signs reports that we do, which is a full report card on the community, and we have vital briefs, and we've done those through COVID, really to provide an update and document secondary impacts that have been happening throughout our community as a result of COVID. Those things help to build trust and show that we have the knowledge and expertise. And next slide back in. Know that the foundation was founded in '99, began operations in 2000. We started with a donation of $13,000, and hold that thought in a second because we've come a long way. The first fund established at the foundation was the William K. Greenaway and Ann C. Bodden Fund. And for anybody that's wondering, we have 2 volunteers that come into the office regularly, and they do things like write thank you notes and help us with our database. One of those people is Bill Greenaway. Yeah, that's right. Our very first fund holder comes into the office once a week, not during COVID, in non-COVID times, comes into the office once a week to support us because he believes in us that strongly. Because we are incorporated federally, we've already done our certificate of continuance. We did that in September of 2014. If that doesn't mean anything to you, basically means we refiled to become a charity all over again in 2014, and anybody incorporated provincially, oh, they're just coming up against this now. Useful to know, if you hear buzz in other charities and on their boards and you wonder what it means for the foundation, know that this was done 7 years ago. Next slide, Beth Ann. So $13,000 was our original donation to get us going in 2000. And so 21 years later, the Guelph Community Foundation has $15.5 million as assets under management. And that was why I said we've come a long way. More than $14 million are in permanent endowed assets. And I will clarify what a permanent endowed asset is in just a moment. In 2021, we granted a total of $1.2 million. That means grants that were made to other charities in our community. And it should be obvious, it should be easy to follow that they needed it. Our community needed it. And this is one of the ways that we help build community and make our community a better place to be. And then more than 1,300 grants have been issued or awarded as community investment since we began to operate. And next. So I said I would get into a little bit on the difference of our fund types. If there were 2 types of funds you ever needed to remember, it is endowed and flow through. And here's the difference. Endowed is the generally most important fund to the Guelph Community Foundation because it's what we're built around and it's how we support community in the long term. Foundation staff and often directors will throw the word endowment around and assume that everybody knows what we're talking about, and I often forget that people don't. Endowed money is forever money. It is money that we don't touch. We pool it, we invest it, we grant the earnings. Endowed money is really a pension or RRSP for our community. It'll be here long after we're gone, and it will always continue to make a difference. Endowed is really a code word for in perpetuity. The immediate impact or flow through fund, you can think of that as more of a checking account. We don't invest it because we can't. We don't know if markets will go up or down, which means we hold those we hold those donations separately, and the assumption is those dollars will get granted within roughly 48 hours to 24 months. We offer that as a service, and we charge fees against that a little bit differently against the donations, and really any fee through the Guelph Community Foundation is largely cost recovery. There are things that we manage to make sure that we are, well, economically viable into the future. Next slide, Beth Ann. So there are really 2 or 3 organizations that the foundation is responsible into. One is the Corporations Act. 1985 because we're a federal corporation. The other is still within the federal government, CRA, because that's where our charitable status is held. They're the ones that watch over to make sure we're doing all of the things we're supposed to be doing. They maintain the Charities Directorate. And we can take a quick look there now, if you'd like, to at least have a quick update. It is where our T3010 goes. T3010, for reference, is essentially the foundation's version of your personal income tax return. The Charities Directorate is one of the places that we'll go to make sure that we can grant to a particular organization and or to make sure their charitable status is in good standing. And likewise, that's where somebody will go to check our charitable status to make sure we're still in good standing. And then we always have to file an annual information return. That one's actually a fairly simple form. It is where the foundation is located. It is who our directors are, where they live, and with this is why you shouldn't wonder if or when the Guelph Community Foundation staff ask you for your personal information, including your birth date. It's not because we want or need to know how old you are. It's because the federal government requires it so that we can make sure that they've got all of the accurate information. We do have some oversight, although we rarely hear from them. There is a body of trustees. We still have some oversight by them because often a fund is set up through an estate plan. So it's the will, the dollars arrive, and technically we are acting as a trustee for the dollars that we are now entrusted with. And Community Foundations of Canada is a collective, it's an organization. We opt in, we pay a percentage of our total assets under administration to be a member of Community Foundations of Canada. And I'm going to start calling Community Foundations of Canada CFC. So CFC does a few different things. They lobby on our behalf. They create opportunities which some of them will participate with. Sometimes we don't. We don't always have capacity to participate in all of the programs they have going on. But a good example would have been through COVID. We partnered, CFC partnered with the federal government to become one of the agencies to deliver additional grant and support money, which ultimately came through community foundations, including the Guelph Community Foundation, the United Way, and Red Cross. But important for you to know, Beth Ann, will you hit the support and resources link? There is a resource library that Community Foundations of Canada maintains. There are great documents here. There is a search function that usually works pretty well. They do webinars, and there are past recordings of webinars. This is a great place to look for information, particularly if you hear Chris Willard or any staff member say, you know, the foundation is doing some things for equality for women across Canada. It's true, they are. You would find the resources and information here. If you were looking for specific information for social impact, if you were looking for Indigenous information, or right down to some of the basics on policies, finance, how to structure a foundation. the information is largely there. It's also what drives toward vital signs. So what will happen is Community Foundations of Canada tells us where to find the data, how to do it. They provide most of the tools and framework so that we can then have a project manager be consistent with other community foundations across Canada. In our case, we use Toward Common Ground to help us with those reports. And Community Foundations of Canada helps to give us things like context statements so that we're all leaning in a similar direction. So there's consistency coast to coast. In years that we don't publish our own local vital signs, they publish a national vital sign. So we're still able to participate, put something forward, and point to trends and things that are happening in our communities across Canada.
Even when you were little, you dreamed big. Maybe you had visions of the good you do in the world, how you might change your community. Now you have the means, but there are so many worthy causes in need of help. Where do you start? Your community foundation has the answer. It's local and dedicated to improving the community where you live. Here's how it works. You can start your own fund by giving cash, stock, real estate, or other assets. If you wish, your community foundation will help you match your interests in the arts, education, economic development, or other causes with charities that share your passion. Plus, you can decide whether you want to give now or later. Community foundations offer tax advantages and personalized services that create a seamless giving process for you. They'll work with you or your professional advisor. It's your choice. And as your giving helps to better your community, everyone benefits, now and in the future. Community foundations help you on your path to personal philanthropy, making it easier for you to do good. So when you're ready to give, visit your community foundation. Together, we can create something special that will last forever.
All of this happens right now with about 2.5 FTEs. We have 2 full-time staff and 1 person who works 15 hours a week. And we're driven by about 45 volunteers. And so this is a really good time to say, well, first of all, thank you, because you are those volunteers that help to power us forward. I'll also add, we have an administrative, an office admin starting on January 24th, and we also have an asset development officer starting on January 17th, which by adding 2 people, we're increasing capacity by almost 100% in the office. Thank you for all that you do for the foundation. Thank you for turning up today. Thank you for your support. No, let me change that. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.